Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us on All Access Belize. I am coming to you today from beautiful Placencia Village at my house, where it is a sunny 84 degrees, so I hope it's kind of warm. And if not, if it's cold, you can live through us. And Megan is also coming from Placencia. And again, my name's David Kafka, and I am your host, or one of your hosts today. And again, a little bit about me is I'm the broker owner of Remax First Choice Belize. And I also own a private investment company that we help investors who want to invest passively here in Belize. We help you invest in real assets, whether it's, apartments or, agriculture or land. So again, though, today, nothing's for sale. We're just here to talk about our life in Belize, living in Belize, and how we can help you realize your dream like Megan and I have. So without further ado, I have Megan with us, Megan Rodden, and her husband and her wonderful son moved here. I don't know, she'll tell you the story, but they bought a property from us and we've been friends and we've actually taped a show together, and it was pretty interesting, and maybe she can share on that. And then we want to just go to y'all and answer y'all's questions. She has a pretty good background. She has a blog that she'll tell you about, and she's very active in the community as well. So Megan, you want to introduce yourself and kind of who you live with, your husband, your son, and kind of what you do here, where you're from, how long you've been here, things like that.
Okay, thanks, David. Thanks for having me. And I'm joining you, like you said, from Placencia, Driftwood Gardens Guesthouse, as featured on HGTV, House Hunters International, that we taped together. That was fun, right? And that was, gosh, like 4 years ago now. So we've been here in Placencia, settling into our new normal in Belize, and loving life. And yeah, so it was me and my husband, and he was at the time, gosh, like 1.5, and now he's 5. So he's kind of grown up here. Like, this is the life he knows, right? So yeah. I have a blog, RealLifeRecess.com. And I started that, I think, when we were really planning our move. We didn't know where we'd end up. We didn't know even if it was going to be Belize or not. We were looking all over, how a lot of people do their due diligence, right? They take their annual vacation and they go on scouting trips. So we looked all over the Caribbean. We looked Colombia, Brazil, Costa Rica. We looked at a lot of places, and we just kept coming back to Belize for the same reasons everyone does, right? Like, if we're going to play gringo bingo, it's like, oh, it's English speaking, and the money is, dead set 2 to 1. And, like, you can drink the water and like all the things, right? That, like, people choose Belize for, same reasons we chose Belize. And then when we finally made the move, we weren't sure if we had narrowed it down in previous trips to either San Pedro or Placencia. And we were going to do 6 months in one place, 6 months in the other. And then after a year, decide where we liked best, where the opportunities were, like where we wanted to settle. And we just happened to come to Placencia first. And within a month of being here, we had friends, we had, like, we liked the school. Like, it was just, we thought, shoot, it's probably going to be Placencia. Let's just talk to a realtor and see what the options are. Immediately found our house, and we said, oh, we could waste a year of time and money and then, like, end up here anyway, right? Or we could just bite the bullet. So we did. Like, within like a month and a half of being here, we were pretty much like full in on Placencia. And I mean, I'm glad we made that choice. And we did end up spending like 2 months living in San Pedro, a month in Caye Caulker, some time even out in San Ignacio. I thought we were beach people. We were not going to like, this mountain town, San Ignacio, and we loved it. So really, I mean, I could live anywhere in Belize, but I'm glad that, my home base is Placencia.
Yeah, no, I agree with you so much. And And it's funny how Placencia does that to you, right? It's just, you know, you go away and you come back and it's like people know your name, and it's just a sense of community. And I'm not saying it's not like that in other areas, because it definitely is.
Actually, yeah, I feel like the whole country of Belize feels like a small town, right? 400,000 people. So no matter where you go, you say, you know, oh, I live in Placencia. Oh, I have a cousin who lived there. Do you know so-and-so? And it's like, yeah, I do. You know, it's you know, a unique thing to Belize as a country is that, you know, everyone knows each other. And I think that also, you know, a lot of people always ask about crime rate and blah, 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 blah. But I think like it being, you know, a small country where people do know one another, it made me feel safer to have that kind of small town vibe.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I agree. So I know we want to talk about education some, and when I moved here was 11 years ago. This week is my 11-year anniversary. My daughter was 11 at the time, and we didn't have the options that we have in Placencia now. So we ended up deciding to homeschool, and we homeschooled, I think I mentioned in one of the previous podcasts, a homeschool from California called Pear Blossom. But now, Megan, what have you found as far as, because I'm seeing a lot more kids in here, and there's a lot more nomadic people that are coming with children and wanting to give the same thing, kind of what you're giving to Mitch, which is her son, giving you know, giving them that experience. What are you finding as far as schools go?
There's definitely more school options in Placencia specifically. You know, you used to just have the public school and the one private school, which is Peninsula International Academy, and it's great. And Mitch went there, and then there's also now like a tutoring center that will get school accreditation, but right now it's just operating as a tutoring center, and they're doing a lot of like homework help, or if you had like an online curriculum from the States or Canada or wherever, you could do that curriculum there with, you know, like a tutor that's helping you along through the program instead of just trying to you know, virtual school on your own. There's also a little Montessori preschool that Mitch is going to right now that, you know, is like phenomenal. This teacher is just like top notch. I can't say enough good things about it. And like his behavior, you know, it's just, he's like learning division, and I'm like, come on, man, you know, you're 5. But it's great. Oh, and journaling, like a 5-year-old boy who journals, you know, it's so cute. So no, I'm really impressed with the schooling options. You know, the new options that are coming along. There's a new child care center that does, you know, like daily or weekly, or even just like drop-in, like even tourists can take advantage of it. If they wanted to go on a snorkeling trip and they don't want to drag the little one along, they could go do a drop-in at this kids center. So there's a lot more for children now, as more and more families are settling on the peninsula.
Yeah, and outside of Placencia, you know, we have the Bowen family who own Bellican Beer. They have a private school in San Pedro, and it's phenomenal and pretty inexpensive, and kind of the same options we have in Placencia. You know, you have in San Ignacio, you have in other places that, you know, San Pedro, that you would have in the other parts of the country. So it's definitely developing as more and more kids are here. And I know Serena being an only child, I know Mitch is an only child, you know, they need that interaction with kids. And that's why we ended up putting Serena into a program where she can play with other kids, you know, even though she was getting her curriculum somewhere else. Do you find that pretty much with Mitch as well? How he interacts with other kids? Like, I know Serena, she would just get so excited watching other kids play, but she didn't know how. And so once we put her in a program, this was actually in the States before we moved here, you know, she got comfortable being around other kids. And I would think the same would be here as well.
Yeah, I find this is a wonderland for small kids, right? You know, they have the beach, they have the lagoon, the mangroves, and it's really lovely. It won't be if you know, build your year around like the North American, like the you know, Little League and your soccer season. If you build your family's year around those sort of organized activities, you're going to find it hard here. Like you have to make your own fun, but there's so much fun to be made, and it's like unstructured. You know, I find building like a little fire hearth with the local kids and you know, I'm like, oh, okay, you know, now I have to give a pan, you know, because like they're making something in their kitchen, and it's, you know, like pretend play like that, instead of maybe like organized sports. But then you also like zip off the peninsula and they can go zip lining or to a waterfall or hike, you know, like things that kids in the US, you know, maybe can't do. Like they never get to just climb around a Mayan ruin on a weekend just because, you know. So it's different. And for some people, it might be a little more work to entertain their children, but for others, you know, maybe that's exactly what they want, the unstructured kind of lifestyle, because there is so much structure in North America.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, so we'll get to some questions now, and Susan has asked, are there any noticeable socioeconomic differences between expats and Belizeans, and do expats and Belizeans form real friendships? I'll kind of take a little bit of that, and then you can add to it, Megan, if you'd like. I mean, I have some real good friendships with Belizeans. Not all Belizeans, but just like I wouldn't have friends with all expats. I have both, right? That's one of the joys of being here. You do see a little difference, you know, when we moved here, my daughter had a MacBook and an iPhone and stuff like that for her schoolwork, and a lot of the other kids don't. But I don't see it's a huge problem per se, but you want to add to anything like that, Megan?
The Belize people are very friendly, and it's hard to make that jump to being friends. And maybe, you know, that could just be like a product of these very transient tourist destinations, right? You know, they see people come and they see people go, and they're like, you know, why am I going to put the effort into another friendship when you're just going to be gone in a year or two or whatever? So I you know, I've been here 4 years, and it's like, I'm still trying to really like, you know, make it over that hump. It's probably easier for kids, but then there is differences with kids. Like I noticed, you know, like locals, they don't really do Santa Claus, or, you know, I mean, they do, it's Christmas and Santa, but it's not like the magic or the beliefs like, you know, other kids are raised. And it's just, you know, like these kids know that the gifts, if they get gifts, that comes from their parents, and, you know, not some fat guy in a sleigh. There are differences, but if you just, you know, acknowledge them, and it's not a problem.
Yeah. I have some really good friendships with some Belizeans, especially like business Belizeans that we have a lot in common. You know, we always get together, talk about, you know, business and how we can help each other, things like that. So it's just, but we're accepting, but like Megan said, it's a very transient. So before they invest the time, they do want to make sure that you're here to stay and help. Shannon asked, are both of you citizens of Belize, or do you hold dual citizenship? Yes, I'm a dual citizen, so I hold a US passport and I hold a Belize passport. Megan, I believe y'all are residents, right? Yep. So Americans can hold both passports. I know depending on where you're from, you can't have two passports. You have to give up one, but we do have that option. David says, do you know any U.S. veterans that depend on VA healthcare system? If you need the VA health system, what a lot of veterans do is they go back to the States. The veterans, the VA health benefits, to my knowledge, won't apply here. but they do their basic, you know, medical here if they get sick or something like that. But as far as their major stuff or their yearly checkups, they normally go back to the States. I know like Doran is a veteran, and he'll go back to the States and deal with all that stuff once he goes to the States. Matthias, do you have the dates for the June coastal living tours? No, sir, but I will make a note and get it for you. Let me just make a note of that. June coastal living tours. And just for those that might not understand that, Mahogany Bay is the Hilton Resort in Ambergris Caye. We do coastal living tours, and it's basically a test drive, or what we in the real estate business call a flying by. So we come and you stay at the resort. We also take you and show you different projects, but the main idea of objective is to help you understand the Mahogany Bay project, if you will. Susan, do people have vegetable gardens in Belize? What's the growing season? Megan, you have any thoughts on that? I can definitely add to that as well.
You know, I'm like, I named this house Driftwood Gardens, and I'm like, shoot, you know, I have to get better at gardening. But luckily the soil here, it just seems to, and the environment, I don't know, it's the weather. You throw something down on the sand and it takes root. So I don't know, I don't grow any of food. I have some mango trees that came with the house. They sprout once a year. Yeah, no, I'm terrible, but I'm going to try to learn.
Yeah, we do have some black dirt that we can get from Cayo. And once that comes here, you can build up the mounds, so to speak, and grow your vegetables if you want. Most of that stuff will have to be out of the salt air. So like at my house in the back, it'd have to be on the other side of the house where there's no salt air. But then I have a big tree there with no shade, so, or with no sun. So you can grow stuff, but we have so many great vegetables here, vegetable places. But a lot of what grows in Placencia are your mangoes, your coconut trees, papaya, things like that. But majority of everything else, we kind of go, you know, to the market, who they bring stuff, what, 2-3 times a week, and we get fresh vegetables wherever we can. Matthias is at, how do you organize day-to-day living? Are there any jobs you can work in Belize outside from owning a business? Maybe you can expound on that a little bit, Matthias. I mean, there's a lot of nomadic workers. Like I know people that are accountants, or they might be accountants or drafters. They do blueprints and things like that. I know they work from home. I know people that do teaching. They teach English to many foreign kids, whether it's China or whatever. I know they do that. As far as organized day-to-day living, you know, I tell people you can be as busy as you want here, or you can be as relaxed as you want. There's plenty to do. Maybe Megan, you can tell me kind of, because I know you do a lot with people. You're actually supposed to be gone today to do a little excursion or whatnot with the family. So maybe you can kind of talk a little bit about your day-to-day living in the village.
Yeah, sure. I'm pretty active, you know, with friends, with the community. Of course, like having a child, like that's a full-time job. Cleaning your house down here is a full-time job. Yeah, so like a regular day kind of just revolves around, you know, like chores, but it's maybe more enjoyable than it was in New Jersey. You know, like instead of, I don't know, going to Sam's Club once a week and stocking up, like I would go to the vegetable stand or the supermarket every day here. And that's, you know, I get on my bike, I go down, or, you know, I just throw on some sandals and head across the road. But yeah, There is, you can be as busy as you want here, and do what you want here. It's easy in Placencia, at least, you can do all the water activities, all the aquatic things like boating, snorkeling, all that sort of thing. And then you can also easily get off the peninsula and to go inland for hiking. Today I was supposed to go foraging for orchids, like those air orchids. I'm going to try to jazz up my yard here. So it's what you make it, I guess.
Yeah, it is. And both of us, we volunteer for the fire board. So we help with the fundraising and stuff like that. And that kind of leads us to the next question, which Deborah asked about how and where the 2 new fire trucks will be used on the peninsula. I had like 17 investors here last week, and then the very next day I got pretty sick. So I need to reach back out to the U.S. Embassy and the fire chief to see kind of where we're at. We knew everything had to be inventoried. They have to get the titles transferred. They have to get insurance on them. And then we're going to do an official opening, if you will, here in Placencia, where we can drive the fire trucks in and do an official handover ceremony, which will be really exciting. I'll definitely get on that and put it out in my next newsletter. Maybe not this week, because I already wrote this week's newsletter, but maybe the following week. But definitely keep you in line for that. As far as where they're going to be used, I think we're going to use one here. Right now, they'll probably be housed in the Placencia area. But the goal is to have one in Maya Beach or in that area. But it's more complicated than that, because we have to get people to man it. We have to have a station to house it and things like that. So the National Fire Service has definitely been a tremendous help on this, and we're working closely with them. So hopefully we'll see him soon. It was definitely exciting to have him here, though, finally, after 2 years of working with it. Susan, are there farmers markets in Belize? There is one in Belmopan. I think there's one in Belize City as well. Megan, is there one in Placencia? I mean, I know we have Greg, Clive, a few of the others that kind of do, they bring vegetables here. But I know, like in Belmopan, have you been to the one in Belmopan where all the farmers come together and distribute?
I have, and there's some baked goods, and then like some crafty things. It's neat. Placencia is trying to get one going, and it's like an artisan market, and they have local chocolate makers and things like that. But it's not really like a set thing that's going on every month yet.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. So it's not really set yet. Definitely not one in San Pedro. Well, I take that back. The Mennonites do come on the back street probably once a week, and it's not like a farmer's market, but they do come and bring some pork and some eggs and probably half a dozen different types of vegetables. So they do that. Matthias, can we work in science-related jobs? Yeah, I think you could. And that's a conversation we can really have offline as well, because I do think that there's definitely some room there for you as far as growing what you do here in Belize. That will benefit the whole world, of course, but you can set up labs and things like that here for sure. We just have to get, Ministry of Health and all that involved, but definitely think there is some stuff here that you could do. As far as where we go grocery shopping, had a sales with the sales team at Mahogany Bay this morning. We had a call and we had that exact conversation, and Megan touched on it where, if we go to Sam's Club or Publix or wherever Winn-Dixie, HEB for those people from Texas, you can go to one place and get everything you want for the week. And here, what's kind of cool is you have to go to different stores. Different stores have different things. They all have the same stuff, but then they all have little different things. You want to touch on that, Megan?
Yeah, it's so true. That's so funny because this Placencia, the village is like 1 square mile. We have 7 grocery stores. It's overkill. It's ridiculous. But I do find myself going to, you know, a few of them when like, oh, you know, this one doesn't have the animal crackers my son likes. So, you know, and then I'm going to this one. And, you know, yeah, you do. It's funny. So you could spend all day just, you know, going around town and getting your things, your essentials.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, you can, if you want something, I know Carrie, my ex-wife, she asked for this thing called Greek yogurt years ago, and it was big in the States, and so one of the guys brought it in, and he saw it was going off the shelf like that, and now it's kind of a staple here. So it definitely, you know, you can pretty much get whatever you want. It's pretty awesome, but you do have to go to usually each of the stores to see what they have. So Susan, I imagine the tropical fruit abundant and amazing. You are correct. What's the quality of the rest of the produce? And how much is grown in Belize? Your lettuces are grown, tomatoes, your onions, I believe. But a lot of it comes from Mexico, I think. Megan, do you know? I know we do watermelon.
Yeah, a lot of things, or not a lot. Some things are imported from Mexico. Right now, like half the year, our carrots come from Mexico, and then the other half we, you know, are grown locally. And you can kind of just like see the difference. The Belize ones look more natural, you know, more like, okay, you know, like these were grown in the dirt. The other ones are kind of like genetically modified. But yeah, things that Belize doesn't have, like berries, you know, like blueberries, strawberries, even apples, things like that have to be imported, that can't be grown here or even in Mexico. Those things, you know, will be pricey. If you know, need Brussels sprouts, you know, you might get them a few times a year and you might pay dearly for them, but, you know, you can get them, but not all the time. Certain things, but, you know, things that you can get, that's, you know, like my husband, like sometimes we'll have like a full-on domestic over it because he's like, what, you know, you spent $17 on a bag of grapes again, you know, like you could have gotten 112 bananas. And I'm like, well, I can't eat another banana, you know, like, so it's like some things you just gotta, you splurge on and you pick when you're going to have those things that are imported, but a lot of things are here locally and can be enjoyed year round. So yeah.
Yeah, and there's definitely room to grow a lot more things in cool houses, greenhouses, things like that. You know, we just need, you know, somebody to do it and set it up properly. And there's enough demand here for restaurants and things like that, where you can do you could get whatever you want. So how easy is it to get regular household products on Ambergris Caye compared to Placencia? Cleaning, dishes, clothes. You know, I'm going to speak kind of generic. Majority of the shopping is done in Belize City, Belmopan, but you can get pretty much everything everywhere. Like I just got a new mattress for my house in San Pedro, and I bought it from, you know, Marab's in Belize City because I wanted a specific pillow top. I could have gotten a mattress locally in San Pedro. I could have gotten a mattress locally in Placencia, but I wanted a specific mattress. And the same with dishes and things like that. A lot of the stores, the grocery stores, carry a mixture of, you know, microwaves, TVs. We have, you know, a couple hardware stores, things like that will carry a lot of dishes and things like that. Cleaning supplies, things like that, you can get at any grocery store. And yeah, all grocery stores accept Visa, MasterCard. And that's pretty much the only 2 credit cards that are accepted. Where do you live if you would decide to live for an extended amount of time? Placencia, San Pedro, and what are the visa regulations? Before we answer that, Matthias, let's, I think we have a poll coming up that Sarah will put up. And from the answer to the poll, we'll definitely, we'll give a free book this week. We'll do the book that I helped co-authored, which is Persistence, or Don't Quit, sorry. So the winner of that will get a free book. So Sarah, whenever you want to, you can throw that that poll up, and those polls kind of help us on topics to talk about, write about, things like that that you're interested in. You know, so maybe Megan, you want to answer that? Where would you live? I mean, because you got to, I know my answer, but you kind of, I remember you went to San Pedro for a couple months, and I forgot you went to Kikaker and Cayo. What do you feel on that? Where would you live if you were here for an extended amount of time, which you are?
Yeah, like we picked Placencia, like I said, and we're happy with our choice. But I could have lived anywhere. You know, once you're somewhere and you get into the routine of, school and work, if you're working, like, or just working around the house. I mean, you really, and then you start, like finding your hangout spots or the park or, like friends here and there. So really I could live anywhere. And I got to say, I've never been north, like to Orange Walk or Corozal. So I can't speak on that. But yeah, I picked Placencia, but I'm not going to knock any other areas.
Yeah. And that's something we won't do. We'll tell you where we prefer. I think each individual is kind of, it's unique to them. I would bet money on John Smith gonna pick in Placencia to buy, and he picked San Pedro or Cayo. And then people I bet would hate San Pedro. They love San Pedro, or they would love Placencia. They don't like Placencia. So it's definitely something you want to experience. I think I get the best of both worlds because I live part-time in both places. But I mean, it's no secret that I prefer Placencia. Placencia is my baby. It's where I've spent most of my time, and it'll be where I spend majority of my time after I get done with some of my business interests in San Pedro. Not to say I'll leave permanently. I mean, I have a house there now, and I'll always go back. I'll have investments there. I have my art and gift shop there. So, but I prefer Placencia personally. And it depends on why you're coming. If you're looking for an ROI or lifestyle, there's so many variables for that. So are there supermarkets accepting credit cards? Yes, we answered that one. Tim, hey, from Toronto. What's up, Toronto? The quality of health and dental. I think it's pretty good. We touched on this on pretty much at length on one of the other All Access Belize, but we'll touch on it again. Just this week, well, last week I was sick. I went to the doctor twice. The first time I went to the polyclinic in San Pedro, and it cost me no money. And I walked out with like 5 different medicines. I went to my private doctor in San Pedro at the Belize Medical Associates in the northern part, and I walked out with it was less than 65 US, and I had some Pedialyte, I had some medicine, and my doctor's visit, and the doctor spent probably like 20 minutes with me. So in my opinion, the healthcare is definitely good. Major stuff, I think I'm going to go to Merida or Guatemala or Mexico, or I doubt I'll go to the US. It's too expensive in the US. Megan, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. Healthcare?
Yeah, well, when people ask, oh, is there anything that would make you, move back or, like move out of Belize? I think that's probably like the only thing that I can think of that might be if one of us, God forbid, developed a serious health problem, or even just diabetes. I don't know, that there's that level of care here for everything. We're young, we're healthy. It's fine for us right now. Like, standard, just GPs, fine, adequate, dental, good, cheap, great. Anything major, I think I'm with you. I'm going at least to Mexico.
Yeah. Yeah. I touched on it. I had a lipoma on my back. I did that in Mexico. I actually did it in Chetumal at Carranza, which is a private hospital there. Merida, I hear, is like second to none. It's like being in the US, but a fraction of the cost. So yeah, I'm comfortable. If I have to leave, I'm moving probably to Merida if it's because of medical reasons, to be next to a doctor there. I can never see, love the US, love being an American, but I can never see myself living there again personally. Susan, does the tap water taste good, salty? Do you drink it? That's a depends on where. Placencia, yes, I drink tap water my whole life that I've been here. Doesn't taste good. It tastes very good, actually. San Pedro, we don't drink the water. I know people that do, but I cook with it, bathe in it, but we do buy bottled water. But then other areas, like I know City River Village, you can drink the water there, but in Hopkins, you cannot. So it just kind of depends on where the water's coming from. If it's coming from a well or, we get our water from the Maya Mountains over there and it's filtered and all that. So in Placencia, we're good to drink water. Tim, are there any major hurdles in starting your own business, especially in the construction industry, specifically deck and dock construction? Not really hurdles other than you have to have a work permit. The government frowns on taking a job from a Belizean. And so in construction, you might have issues. You might have to stay here for a year. And then once you get your residency, then you could probably start something. But if you're starting a business and you're hiring Belizeans, then you're golden. You just set up a company and just get your work permit, and then you can start, construction. People do it all the time. Anything with docks, though, you have to get the right permits. Whenever you're doing anything on the Queensland or the water, you have to get permits from the government. So you definitely want to make sure, you follow the guidelines and rules on that. David's asking, is there something like an annual healthcare cost, or is it just pay as you go? Megan, what do y'all do? I know what I do, but I'll let you answer what you do.
We just pay out of pocket, and that's easy enough to do. If you're healthy, you don't need to see a doctor all that often. Maybe instead of paying, a monthly to have insurance, you would just kind of tuck that into a savings account and sort of, insure against a catastrophe that way. Because just going to the doctor, 50 Belize, going to a lot of times I don't even go to the doctor. I'll just go to the pharmacy and pharmacist and say, oh, Nina, these are my symptoms. And she just gives me, something right there. So I wouldn't say, for most people, it's probably not necessarily necessary to have health insurance or, one of these expat plans. If, you're not thinking you're going to need it, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That's what we do. We self-insure. We put, I think I got a quote from an expat insurance company, and it was like $600-700 for me, my wife, and my two boys. And that's what we do. We just put that money in a savings account. That's $700 US. And we just self-insure. I would recommend, if if you have health problems, things like that, to get maybe a catastrophe policy, something like that. There are some local companies, your RF&G, Sagicor, places like that, are insurance companies here. They do have insurance. Honestly, I've never checked. I'll probably do that as for information purposes only, and look at it. I think it's a lot less expensive, but you know, for somebody like myself, I go to the doctor once, twice a year. You know, it cost me 150 Belize dollars for those 2 times. You know, we had a baby a year and a half ago, and we did that at a private hospital, and cost 5,500 Belize for a cesarean section at a private hospital, 3 days with the OBGYN, the pediatrician, everything. So it's a fraction of what it costs in the US, and you know, we just pay out of pocket. You know, we put the money in a savings account, it earns 3%, you know, so it's I think the best way to go. Are there special construction materials and or building techniques for the salt to air and humidity? Not really. Just, I don't know if Susan, where are you from? I come from Charleston, South Carolina, as most of you know, and we build a lot of the same way here. Majority of the construction is either wood or concrete. You can see my dock back there. That's all treated pine, and we do put a coat on it, like a Thompson's water seal. There is some cabbage bark that you can use that are outside. That's a very Belizean hardwood, and that will last probably a lot longer than the treated pine, but it's getting kind of hard to get and a little bit more expensive. And so we just put it, the treated pine down, and we treat it. As long as you keep the wood painted and everything, you know, you won't have any problems. Driftwood Gardens, it's a beautiful place that Megan and them have. It's a 3-story wooden house, and they keep it like, man, they keep that thing beautiful. You're what, downstairs this time?
Yeah, I'm in a downstairs apartment, but it's work. I've never lived in an environment like this before, and it's just always something. Oh my word. And you know, I'm sorry to say it, like my husband, he has many talents, but being handy is not one of them. So we're constantly, you know, we're just really friendly with like all the local you know, handymen. I think you'll find the materials down here, they're not like really high quality, and then just the environment is harsh, so maybe things are going to need to, like your dock, I'm sure you're replacing boards on your dock, you know, like every year or so, and like pipe, I don't know, it just seems that you just have to maintain. It's just a constant sort of maintenance thing. Yeah, no matter if you're built, you know, I'm mixed construction, so I'm concrete on the and wood on the top, and it's, you know, it doesn't make a difference. Everything needs attention, you know.
Yeah, and there are, you know, the quality of the materials are getting better. There's definitely a lot of low quality things. Like there's some very inexpensive paint, and you're gonna have to paint probably once, twice a year. Or you can put the money down and get a high quality paint, and you only have to paint once every 2-3 years. And that, again, that depends on where you're located. The sun part of my house, I have to paint probably every year. Whereas the part that's always in shade, I don't have to do but maybe every 5 years. But like Megan said, there's always something that you have to do. The salt air's around. You know, any metal will have to be painted, treated, you know, touched up, things like that. So Deborah, the nightly rental prices on Airbnb have been greatly reduced because of COVID. How's the occupancy rate at Driftwood these days?
We're getting by. I'm not gonna, you know, like, no, I was listening to a podcast in December with the Minister of Tourism, and he was saying that this time compared to this time last year, right, or now compared to this time last year, we're at about 12 to 15% of the tourism that we had. And I know, you know, 2019 was one of Belize's banner years, but like, man, 12 to 15%, like Ouch, that hurts. You know, so it's all right. Yeah, everyone is dropping their price and, you know, competing for the small pool of tourists that are coming.
Yeah, I was listening to some tourism numbers, and the occupancy rate for the country right now is running around 10%. So it's pretty sad. I know, you know, because of Mahogany Bay being the sales manager there, I get to see some of those numbers, and like Mahogany Bay is running at 30% right now. Like this weekend, we have probably over 100 guests that we're going to be on campus. But compared to this time last year, we had 400 people there. So it's definitely tough. You know, but I just saw that some COVID numbers were down. We're just kind of waiting to see what Biden does with travel restrictions. Just for everybody to know that's on today, that, you know, there are places throughout anywhere you go, whether it's Placencia, San Pedro, Caye, wherever you're at, you'll be able to get a test to get back to the US. So, you know, don't worry about that. So it's definitely a perfect time. The people that are here right now are the right ones that are interested. I've never been more busier than I am right now. We're seeing people buying left and right. So it's definitely, you know, whereas tourism's down, which normally once tourism is up, our sales are up, but now tourism's down and our sales are actually through the roof. So, we'll kind of see how it goes. Shannon says that, Megan, she's going to be in touch with you about coming to stay at Driftwood Gardens in the next 3 months. So she has a studio and a 2-bedroom, right? And then a 3-bedroom is where y'all live.
Yeah, so we have a studio with just a little kitchenette, and then I have my newly remodeled 1-bedroom, which I'm in right now, and then a 2-bedroom unit, and then we also live in part of the house too.
Good. Okay. So I'll make sure that everybody gets. Well, I think they already put Driftwood Gardens in the chat box, so everybody can get a hold of her for staying there. Megan also sells real estate with, she does it part-time pretty much with another local company. But,
yeah, I wouldn't really say I sell real estate because I really don't.
Okay. All right. Very good. So but check out her blog for sure. And I think they posted her blog in the chat section. And David is if visiting about 6 months, can I easily establish a local bank for easier access to money, or do ATM suffice to pay local bills? Getting a bank account here is pretty tedious, especially if you're an American citizen. It takes time. Definitely can do it. It has to go through central bank approvals to make sure that, you know, you're not a drug dealer or a money launderer or working for, you know, Al-Qaeda or something like that. But definitely you can get one. A lot of people that come for 6 months and even longer, they live just off their ATM. I don't like that because, you know, you get the bills, the ATM fees. So you could open up one for sure, and it will just take some time. You can reach out to me. I can get you the application, not the application, but what is required. You know, you'll need a bank reference. You'll need a professional reference, like from a CPA or something like that, a lawyer, and then some other documents that you'll need. 3 months, 6 months. Okay. So talk about landscaping and maintenance. Do people do it themselves or pay for a service? I think it's a mixture. I personally, I have somebody come every 2 weeks to my house and Placencia and do the yard for me. Cost me like $40. He's done in like a couple hours, 40 Belize. And San Pedro, I like doing the yard myself. I have more grass and I do the yard myself. If I get too busy and I don't have the time, then I'll hire it out. Some of the work around the house, I usually get somebody else. Megan, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, yard service guys, I feel like they provide an invaluable service and it's so affordable. Just get them. Same with like housekeeping help. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say, yes, I could do it myself, but I can't do it as good as, you know, and for, you know, why not? It's super affordable and you'll just be happier. And yeah, my lawn guy, I can't imagine my husband climbing our coconut trees and, you know, and then getting me coconut water from, like, sorry, he can't do that, you know, but our yard guy does on occasion. So yeah, I just go for it. You'll be happy you did.
Yeah. And yeah, I agree. I mean, I've had my cleaner Nellie man, she's been with me since I moved here. I help her kids go to school, or I helped them go to school. They graduated now, and built a very good relationship with them. And when I'm in San Pedro, she actually lives in my house and takes care of my fur babies. And when I'm here, she cleans for me twice a week. She cleans my office a little bit more because of COVID restrictions. And, you know, it's what, $7 an hour is what I pay her. $7 to $10 an hour, Belize is what I pay her, and she's tickled pink to death with that because minimum wage is what, $3.25 Belize an hour. So definitely, it's definitely worth you know, having them do it. So we're kind of no questions. Megan, do you have any final thoughts or comments?
I was thinking about the question about a construction business and a hurdle that he might have, and it's just the hurdle of cost for equipment. Probably bringing in equipment is going to be costly and heavily dutied, so that just might be something he has to factor into his business plan as a hurdle.
Yeah, that's true. And, you know, in the States, if you needed a tiller or a backhoe or something like that, you just go and rent it. Here, you don't do that. Here, it's you know, it comes with the operator and they do everything for you. And, you know, the materials to build here cost more than probably what you're used to. The labor's probably a little bit less. But as you can imagine, everything is pretty much imported in to the country unless you're building a house with just Belize hardwoods and sourcing majority of your stuff here in Belize or making it here in Belize. Other than that, it's all coming from the US.
Then I also, about the bank account, I don't think it's necessary. I tell people, you know, I've been here 4 years. I still don't have a Belize bank account and I get by just fine. Yeah. I mean, I could now that I have residency, it's a much easier process, but I mean, I get by without. You don't need it.
Oh, you don't need it. Very good. Not sure if I missed the answer, but are there any short-term 3 to 6 months in San Pedro or Placencia? Yeah, there's always short-term. There's always people that I think Megan has a friend that Nicole does, you know, 3 to 6 months, or she has property management. Cindy Flowers does property management where they will do short and long-term. I have probably a couple, but I have to do mine. I don't register with the BTB, so all my properties are a year or more. But I'm sure theirs are you know, are short term.
And a little tip for snowbirds who are looking, you know, for 1 month or, you know, up to 6 months. A little tip that I like to use, if you can totally even cut out those property managers, is look on Airbnb, Booking.com, you know, any of the third-party sites, right? Narrow down what you're looking for, the date range, and sort of your price range, and then find that accommodation directly. So don't book through the third-party site, but contact that. And it's easy enough, you know, look on Facebook, look, you know, just do a Google search. You can probably find them, and then contact them and say, you know, hey, I'm looking for sort of an extended stay. What kind of rate? They will at least knock off the 15% or whatever it is that the third-party booking site charges, but probably a lot more. You'll get a better deal that way.
Very good. Yeah, good point. Good point. And I have a small resort in Hopkins, and that's primarily what we do, our 1 month to 3 months stays. So if you're looking for like a little studio with it's a full kitchen, but it's a kitchenette, if you will. It's like an apartment stove, smaller refrigerator, but still freezer and all that, you know, just reach out. And there's other places like what you can go, like what Megan said. I totally recommend that. The OTAs take a big percentage, so go directly to the owner once you find a place that you like. Well, everyone, that's great. I thank you for coming. Our next one's going to be Tuesday, March 9th, and we're going to have a couple from Canada that's going to join us. Wonderful story that they have. I've already got it all set up. So March 9th, 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time is our next All Access Belize. And Megan, we thank you so much for joining us and talking to us about your story and helping me answer the questions. And everyone in the chat, you have her contact info, and of course you have my contact info. If you've missed something in the next probably few days, just give post-production a little bit of time, then it'll go up on our YouTube channel. So thanks everyone for joining, and hopefully we'll see you next month, and stay safe.